Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rosefellow Podcast. I'm excited about today's topic. We're talking about the deal structure, the deal process of how we start a project from beginning to end. How we start, how we finish it, what happens in between. And along with me today is our Executive Vice President, Kristopher. Kris, thanks for being with us.
Good to be here, Mike.
It's exciting because a lot of people see what we do. We announce a site and all of a sudden a building goes up, but there's a lot of work that comes in before, during, and after. And I think one of the important elements that we'd love people to understand a little more is how we choose the investors, the partners we work with. Because it's not overnight. It's we don't just pick up a phone and present a pro forma and sign a partnership agreement and away we go. And maybe you could talk a bit about that because you spend a lot of time nurturing those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Mike, when you think about it, it really starts by making sure the values are aligned. So even if it's with the investors, our professionals, our contractors, it all really starts with the values, aligning the values. So we spend a lot of time getting to know the investors we're going to work with. So it's a long-term process. Make sure that their vision for development, the projects they want to invest, the people they want to invest with is aligned with our values going forward.
That doesn't happen overnight. I know there's some relationships you spend a year and a half working on, and without presenting any opportunities. To the extent that some of these investors reached out to you and said, okay, Kris, we want to work with you. What are you waiting for? Show us what you have.
But it makes sense, Mike, when you think about it. Like we're working with these people for years after. Like an average project, you're looking at around a turnaround, maybe 1 to 2 years.
And that's industrial. Multi-res is could be 2-3 times that.
2-3, a lot longer. So you want to make sure, and it's human nature. You want to work with people that you have a good positive energy with, and it really starts by making sure you're aligned on your values and what you're looking for in terms of a project and what you're looking for in terms of people you want to deal with.
Absolutely. I always say these partners are on calls with us. Sometimes they're in our office. They're on calls on a weekly basis, a bi-weekly basis. If you don't like the person you're talking to, it's going to be a horrible relationship.
It's going to be horrible.
And it's like it's like a relationship. You don't marry the first girl that you meet or guy. You spend a lot of time getting to know them.
You didn't do that? You didn't marry the first one?
I didn't marry the first one, thank God. But you have to make sure the relationship works. It's got to be fun. We sit in a position today where we can pick and choose the type of projects we want to do. We're not a huge team. We're 12 or 14 at the office, so we have the opportunity to be selective on what we do. We don't have a team of 500 where we have to take every project we can just to make sure to cover payroll. We're not in that situation. We made sure of doing that the right way, of staying lean to staying agile, so we can pick the best projects for the market, for our team, and projects we like to do. And to add to that, like you mentioned before, it's about picking the right partners. Not everybody has the same vision, and we can give multiple examples. One is, some will want us to, some investors want to come into a project and they want to hold indefinitely. They want to put up apartment buildings and say, we're never going to sell. We're going to build a portfolio that we're going to pass on to our kids and their kids. Our vision is slightly different. We have a longer term plan, but not to that extent, maybe a 10, 15-year plan. Some other investors want to come in and say, okay, as soon as it's stabilized, we're selling it right away. So these are just some of the multiple kind of ideas and visions we have to make sure are aligned with picking the right type of investor.
You know what I like about a lot of our investors we're dealing with right now is they like to be somewhat hands-on. We involve them. So we'll tell someone, how much you want to be involved, because we like them to give their feedback. And a lot of the people we work with right now, because our values are aligned, because we have common aspirations and we work well together, they bring in a lot of feedback. We have regular meetings with them. They come in, they'll give ideas. A lot of these investors have had extremely successful careers. Maybe not in real estate. Some have. Some it was in other fields, but they bring a lot of knowledge, and it's great to have them around the table, especially when there's great chemistry.
And you brought an important point up. That's one of the things that I think surprised a lot of the investors, partners we work with, how much of a say we give them. We've heard the comment many times like, oh, when we dealt with so-and-so, it was just about the money, and we had to kind of sit on the sidelines and watch the project grow.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, we invite them in the boardroom with our architects, with our contractors, with our engineers to say, this is the direction we're going and this is the why. If they don't like something, they can say, I don't like the colors, or I don't like the design or the concept, because we want to include them. It's not just about money. It's about creating a partnership, and everyone has a say in that project.
Yeah. And I find there's, through that implication, great ideas come out of it.
Absolutely.
And every project, there's bumps in the road, right? There's no project that...
Absolutely.
There's no bumps or detours you have to take. And I love having our investors up to date and being part of those decisions, because when there is a bump in the road, they'll say, hey, guys, we have an idea for this, or I thought about this. Let's try to do this. They're part of the solution.
And there's no surprises.
Which is which is an issue when that comes up.
Absolutely. So if we think of like site locations and securing a site, let's paint a picture for the audience on the first 24 hours after we look at a site and we think it's an ideal site. How do we go about the phone call? Who calls the vendor or the broker? How do we prepare an offer? Maybe we should talk about that process, because we do it all the time. I think on a weekly basis, you and I will sit down and look at maybe 10 different sites that come our way.
Oh, we for sure, every week there's at least 10, 15 sites that go through our desk that we look at, or we're on site looking at together. The process has to be very quick, because I think in real estate, if you dwell too long, you'll miss your shot. Mm-hmm. A lot of it starts, I believe, on my side, and I think we're all pretty much like that. A lot of it starts with instinct. We've been in the game for a while. We see a site, we'll know pretty quick, this has a great potential. And from there on, then you get into the more technical. Does it have infrastructure? Is there great access, depending if it's a industrial, resi project, whatever. What's in the neighborhood? Where's it located?
The city we're working with.
Oh, that's huge. People underestimate that, how important it is in the area that you're working and the city you're working with. There's such a different spectrum. Like, it goes from towns that are extremely proactive. I'll give an example right now. The city of Laval, which is, for our listeners that are not from Quebec, just north of Montreal. This town has, in the last 5 years, I cannot believe the difference they've done. They are extremely proactive to the business world, and they will create incentives. They will create an environment that makes you want to work there. And when we look at a site, I know we've looked at a few in Laval right now. We're looking at one today. And the first thing that came to my mind, well, this is Laval. It'll be a little bit quicker. We have great support. They actually want the project to succeed. As long as you bring something that is good for the collectivity, that is good for the town, they will right now do everything they can to make it work. Where on the other side of the spectrum, if we look at a site, and actually I hope some towns are listening to this podcast, because it really does make a difference for a developer. We might have a great piece of land with all the assets, all the attributes to make it win. But if it's in a town where we know it gets boggled down, stuck in the mud, long, it may be a pass. It may be a pass because we just can't fit those timelines. So if there are towns that are listening and people that work in towns, I think they should know it really does make a difference when we decide to select a site and eventually build in the community.
The other thing that I think is so important, and we spend a lot of time doing it, is actually going onto the site. Mm. I think we spend every Saturday, or maybe every second Saturday, with our team going for breakfast, and then we actually go walk a site. I think that is something that since COVID and Zoom and Teams and Google Earth and every other option you have on your computer, people don't do. You need to get in your car. You need to go walk the site. You need to look at what the services are in the area. There's been sites that have checked every box for us, and when we went there, we said, this is not good.
No site. There's no more purchase at Rosefellow that is done without us spending time on the site. There was one site I spent 3 hours in my car just observing. how cars were coming in, cars were coming out, how people were interacting on that site. It's a whole different aspect, that the human side that you really get to see, and the logistical side as well of how things happen on the site, that feeling. But I think it goes back to what we're saying. It's that gut feeling as well, that instinct. You know, you get to that feeling when you get to a site and you're like, this is a gem.
Yeah.
This will work. You almost know right away, unless there's something horrible that you discover in your due diligence, you feel it right away and you fall in love with it. It's like falling in love with a girl. You know, you see the site, you just fall in love with it, and then you go through the process. But that connection when you get to the area, and how many sites did we find? It wasn't from a broker. It wasn't on the market. We drove.
That's right.
We drove in front of it.
Yeah.
We said, wow, what a great piece of property to do this. And I think what's key today too is don't look at what is permitted today on that site. I think if we limit ourselves to that, you'll bypass a lot of great opportunity, because you may have a vision for the site, may not be permitted right now in the zoning or the town's orientation, but if it's a great idea and you bring it and you sell it well and you show how it's beneficial, your vision may become the vision of the town and it'll work.
And that goes back to spending a lot of time with the different cities, getting to understand where their head's at, where their mind's at, and building that relationship with them. Because if you don't understand where you think their orientation is, you can look at a site all you want. It won't. If you can't convince them, you won't be able to convince yourself. What would you say would be the one single, if you had to pick one single metric that would make a site be a go no go for us?
I'll give you 3.
Okay.
Location. No matter what type of industrial project you're doing, residential, industrial, retail, it's all about location.
Absolutely.
There is nothing else. You know, that is the number one.
And you know, it goes back to the one of our recent acquisitions where we bought a shopping center, a little over 1 million square feet of land, and we're tearing it down to put up an industrial campus. It has all the attributes of what a business owner and employee would be looking for in their new head office. You know, retail next door. There's a health facility. There's restaurants. There's bars. And this is for an industrial building. People never consider that when it comes to warehousing. They're like, oh, these are great attributes for someone who's moving into a new office building. We look at things differently now. We know how hard it is to hire great people, to attract someone from a competing company or someone in the area. You got to make not only the building incredible, you got to make the environment something special. And that's what we looked at when we drove that site, and we just parked the car. We looked and said, wow, can you imagine someone going to work? He can take his break at 10 o'clock, walk across the street, pick up a coffee. If he wants to go to the gym at noon, he can go right over there. There's a Gold's Gym next door. These are attributes that people don't consider when they think warehousing space. And it's something we're putting a lot of emphasis on with the sites that we choose today.
Yeah, there's going to be a new trend, industrial real estate. I think we're at the start of this. This project is definitely at the forefront of this new trend. We hear a lot about mixed use development, residential, retail. I think right now the trend is going to be mixed use industrial retail. I think it's win-win. The two activities are complementary, and mixed to that is the younger generation. Sometimes we criticize them for certain things, but they certainly bring the desire to have a better quality of life. Mm-hmm. And when you look at these new ways of doing industrial projects, because this is major labor forces that are in these buildings, to have a great area nearby, to have your breaks, to go on lunch after work, to hang out with your coworkers. This is the new trend right now. The old industrial parks where the buildings are stacked one beside each other, no trees, no greenery, very arid. I think those days are coming to an end as the larger companies and smaller companies are going to look to make sure that their employees have a good quality of life.
So if we take it to the next step, we spoke about what we look at when we acquire a site. If we were to talk about the next phase in our process, which is choosing the ideal team for development, And if we can speak specifically, we'll talk about general contractors. We're not at Rosefellow. We are lean, and that's purposely done. We never wanted to be general contractors. We wanted to pick the best of the best for every project, because not everybody is good at everything. And what would you say is a great asset to have when we pick a contractor?
So there's different aspects. I will start with the first one. For me, like I'll put aside, obviously you want a GC that has the experience, that can deliver on time and on budget. That is a standard. But for me, it's the human side of things. How is he invested in the project? How is he invested in our group? How does he work in a team? Because the way we do a project is very different than other groups do. We're a fully integrated design build system where RGC is part of the project right from the start. He is sitting right beside the architect and ourselves, and we build it together, which means it has to be someone that's open to conflict of ideas. It has to be someone that is willing to collaborate. It means it has to be someone that could admit, yeah, I'm wrong on this one. Mm-hmm. We're going to go with your idea because it's for the greater good. So the human side of things to me is extremely important. It goes back to you're successful when you work with people that you enjoy. The project will be more successful. The experience will be better. And at the end, the project will be better. So for me, it's really the human values of that person that is sitting at the table. I
agree. And, we've gone through various different contractors over the years, and we have a select few that we work with today. Yeah. And it comes down to that. Yeah. The contractor who gets in his car and comes to our office, sits down around the table and brainstorm with us. We carry a lot of weight when it comes to that aspect of things, with our contractors, with our engineers, with our architects too. The big topic over the last few years and still is very important is ESG, the green initiatives. People will often say, it's too expensive to do. There's no demand for it today. And we'll speak initially. We'll talk about industrial, then we could talk about multi-res. Yeah. In a warehouse, I've heard the comment. We were just you were on a panel actually a couple of weeks ago, in a real estate panel in Montreal, and you stated the fact that at Rosefellow, regarding our ESG initiative, everything we build is a green building. What that means is that it's going to be LEED certified. It's carbon zero. Because we take that to heart. It's part of our initiatives, and it's important to our partners, and it's important to our financiers. So it's a must-have. And there's people on the panel, some of our competitors, who said they don't see the value in it. It's too expensive. There's no return. The ROI is not there. Yeah. What do you say to that?
My answer to that was you're correct. The short-term ROI might not be there. Because if you look at the rental rates, will you get more today for a carbon zero building, LEED certified building, even a Fortune 500 company? Will they pay $1 more of rent? Answer is no.
Yeah,
they will not do it today.
You're absolutely right.
Long term, I think it is a huge mistake for anybody not to build green buildings right now for a few reasons. Companies are ramping up their ESG initiatives. It's just getting stronger and stronger. It's becoming part of the core values of companies. I believe that, in a few years from now, it's going to become a necessity to have space in a green building. The other aspect is the people buying these buildings. Institutions, banks, REITs, they're further ahead in that reflection. Mm-hmm. And they're not buying for a few years. They're buying to hold 20, 30, 40 years.
That's right.
There's no way they're going to buy a building with the old technology, with the old way of doing things. They're thinking forward. They're strategic, and rightfully so. So people today that tell me that say, well, I can't get more rent. I'm not going to build carbon zero. I'm not going to go LEED. I'm going to get the biggest ROI. I'm like, sure you will. Sure. You will for a few years, but then try putting your building up for sale. Try to lease it. When your first lease is up, try to lease it after that.
You're right.
So I think you have to have a long-term vision. And I think on this subject, your ROI is on the medium long term to take these initiatives.
If you look at the tenants that have visited some of our buildings and others that have signed, their first reaction, they come into, and we experienced this week.
Yeah.
You know, we had a potential tenant come into one of our facilities, and he says, "Wow, you air condition your facility?"
Yeah.
And it's part of the carbon.
Shocked.
Yeah, you're shocked. You know, because it's a warehouse. You don't usually do that in a warehouse, and that is part of the mechanical systems that we have in place in order to obtain our carbon zero certification. But beyond that, you think of the cost of energy. Mm. The average cost on our buildings is 39 cents a foot.
Yeah.
Compared to some that are not certified, some older buildings that could be $1.25, $1.50. That dollar extra that they're claiming is already saved on the energy bill.
Yeah.
Then you think about employment. Mm. You're bringing an employee to a facility that's controlled, has a great temperature inside. It's a great work environment. If you had to pick between working for this employer in this building or another one in an older facility where it was 35 degrees, 40 degrees Celsius in the middle of summer, I think he'd prefer working for the employer that's in our building where there's a quality of life that's better.
Yeah, there's definitely energy savings amounts there. I think what we're seeing as well is more and more incentives from cities for us to build green buildings. A lot of them are starting with those programs, and I encourage cities to continue with those to bridge the gap.
Yep.
Because someone might decide, I'm going to take a building that's not green, I'm going to lease there, it's a bit cheaper. But if the cities would have some incentives, tax abatements, other types of incentives for green buildings, I think it would really bridge that gap and encourage more people to build green buildings moving forward. So towns should not just think about development charges, but they should also think about incentives to encourage the construction of green buildings on their community.
Absolutely. If we're to talk about leasing activity, you know, what distinguishes one building to another? Because it's important. You know, we say it all the time in the office. You can build the sexiest buildings in the world. If they sit empty, there's no value to anyone. So beyond, you know, location, we talk about we talk about the green initiative, the ESG initiatives. Mm-hmm. I think the other thing that's important to speak about is who the landlord is and how well you're going to take care of your employees. We put a huge emphasis on that from day one, from that first visit into a building up until that lease is signed, and then for the next sometimes 10, 15, 20 years. Yeah. And I think there's a big gap with various different landlords where once the deal is done, it becomes, here, come see me in 10 years, or you know, fix your problems that you know, the mechanical systems are on you and the issues are on you. Here's a list of subcontractors, or here's a list of professionals. When we started this company, we said that this business runs on our bosses, and who our bosses are, they're the tenants in the building. That's who we have to answer to. That's who we have to make sure are happy, not just to get to the lease signed, but throughout the term. And the reason I thought that was crucial was because, one, if we do a good job, he'll talk about it to his friends and his buddies or her buddies who want to buy a building, who want to rent a building. But also, if you're silent for the term and then you call him up 6 months before the lease is due and say, hey, can we sit down and start renegotiating? There's a good chance he's going to market. Yeah. He doesn't care.
Well, why would he not?
Exactly.
Where's the relationship?
Absolutely. It wasn't done. It's not done in industrial warehousing. But when a client comes into one of our buildings for the first time, there's a whole setup we have. Yeah. You know, there's coffee, there's donuts, there's water, there's
energy drinks.
There's energy drinks. But there's a screen, and we bring them in and we'll show them a whole presentation of what's going on in the area, as opposed to just walking into an empty box, looking around and saying, okay, well, let me show you the building, column spans and ceiling heights. So from that first impression, the reaction we've gotten is, wow. I mean, this is impressive. In a warehouse, we don't see this. And if this is the way you take care of us, meeting one, I feel confident that you're the landlord that's going to take care of me during the term.
Absolutely. And I think it's also, when the person leaves the building, either after a visit or after having rented for many years, how did you make them feel? People always remember how you make them feel. So when we greet a potential tenant, we make sure that when they leave, they feel that they were valued, that their time, we appreciated their time.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing on the long term. So it's a tenant that's leasing for 10 years or so. We want that 10 years to make him feel good, that we value him. So we will constantly, our construction team, leasing team, they will constantly follow up. We've had them on our podcast to talk.
Well, how about the food trucks?
The food trucks.
Yeah. We've organized events, lunches for not only the executives, the entire 200-300 people that work in that warehouse. We've set up food trucks, in the middle of the week, where they come in, free lunch, and just kind of get everybody around to say we appreciate them.
I love that event because you get to talk to the people that are on the floor, the forklift drivers, and they'll ask us questions. How did you design this? Why are the column spans like this? And I love those activities that we have, and you learn more about your clients. And what's great about that is that you grow at the same time as your clients. And some of our clients right now that have space with us, they've come back to us and say, hey, we're expanding. We're looking in this area. Could you guys help us? I love that. That's the best feeling for me when we're doing that.
Well, I think that comes back to the level of service we give someone. And you're living it today with a client who's now asking us to follow them in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just about, the initial ask was, we need 100,000 square feet of warehouse space. And your comment back with our construction team is, okay, why? Well, that's because I want to store my pallets. Okay, can we visit your facility? Can we understand the process and let us come back to you what the requirements are? And they actually were less square footage. We showed them a racking plan, a volumetric plan of how we can store their product in this facility. And they said this is a multinational company. They never received that level of care from any landlord in any province or state that they've worked in. I think that's what distinguishes as well. It's not just about renting square footage.
Yeah, I agree. It's it also comes down to solving people's problems. If you're able to solve someone's problems in an efficient way and make him save money or make money, you're making him feel pretty good. Yeah. And that's also part of the approach to do that. It's really, how can we assist you to the utmost of our abilities and resolve the problems that you have and find you solutions that go sometimes much more than just giving you space. Yeah. But that's key. I mean, it's also great to build those relationships. I love to just call up one of our clients and say, hey, do you want to go golfing I'm terrible at golf, but I don't know why I still do it, but call them and say, hey, do you want to go golfing, or do you want to, I'd love to stop by for a coffee. Are you, I'm near your office. Love doing that.
Kris, you say that and it reminds me of the time where you called, I think it was one of the cities or towns in Ontario, to set up a meeting and have a coffee with them. Yep. And I remember you saying how cold they were at the onset. Maybe you could tell us a story about that.
It was horrible. This was, we did a project in Ontario, and the team was telling me, we finished this project, but we didn't really meet. It was just COVID. It was during COVID, and just after COVID, everything was by teams. We didn't really meet. We don't have a strong relationship like we have in other communities where we work. And I said, well, let's go see them. Let's go have a coffee. So we booked the meeting, and we insisted that it be in person. And they were trying to push it off on Teams. We're like, no, we want to meet in person. They're like, oh, okay. So we drive down, get in the conference room, and we're waiting in the conference room, and they show up. There was two of them. And I'm trying to make small talk, and I'm getting like nothing, no emotion. Cross arms, looking at me, and I'm running out of subjects here. I'm going through everything. Finally, I get a little smile, I get a little crack, and then we start talking, and then eventually it was a great conversation about nothing really in particular, other than a bit of planning, a bit of city stuff, a bit of how our industry's going, what could we do better. And that was the way I left it. I said, in the whole process we did with you, is there anything we could have done better? in the way we presented our plans, our projects, is everything. And the look on their face was just priceless, because
wasn't the comment that they made, so we thought you were coming here to complain about something?
They thought we were insisting to meet in person because we were going to give them shit about something. And they were just shocked that it was just about, hey, thank you. What can we do better? How you guys doing? How's life?
Because no one does that.
No.
It is so important to nurture relationships with your clients, with your investors, with cities. You can't put a price on that, and that's a great example.
People like working with people they like.
Yeah,
it's just as simple as that. You know, if everything you do is transactional and it's cold, why would you go out of your way to help that person? Why would you take time to facilitate something? You know, if you're courteous, good vibe, give out good energy, and you're genuine that you want the other person's well-being as much as yours, they're going to work harder.
Yeah.
They're going to want you to succeed. I truly believe in that. I think it's a fundamental. Forget real estate. It's a fundamental in any business.
You're right.
Or any relationship, for that fact.
If we were to think of red flags, what would you say is the biggest red flag that you've uncovered in an environmental report?
Environmental reports? I mean, I don't know if it's red flags. I don't see it like as red flags. We have to take care of our environment. It's the reality. We cannot push it to the next generation anymore. So for me, when I get an environmental report, right away, areas that have to be preserved have to be preserved. I think the science is there. We're no longer negotiating that. We need wetlands. We need to preserve. There's certain species that are endangered. They will be extinct if we don't do something. So when we look at environmental report, we're like, okay, how can we protect and work on our development at the same time? And there is phenomenal professionals today, amazing scientists that assist us, biologists that assist us in doing that, planners that assist us in doing that. So for us, it's layers. We take it, we look at our site, what can we do? And we achieve that. We achieved doing 1 million square feet building in an area that was surrounded by protected land for endangered species of frog species. And on top of that, we gave over 1.2 million square feet of land to help that endangered species to increase the protected area around. So there is a way to ensure development and take care of our environment. There is a way. And I think that is the way all developers should feel right now.
What I loved about that project, Kris, you mentioned where we built a 1 million square foot facility distribution center, is that you and your team worked hand in hand with the Ministry of Environment to achieve what you're able to achieve, the donation of land back for the protected to protect a certain species, and then to develop. And there was multiple in-person meetings, brainstorming sessions, I think several a week. And we were able
late nights,
and you were able to achieve a deal with the ministry in record time. And we were proud. They were proud. Everyone was proud of what we were able to achieve in such a quick period of time because of those continuous late night, meetings and discussions and in-person meetings. And then we get crucified in the papers by saying, "Oh, there must have been something colluded," because the average project takes 9 months to get approved, and they did it in just a few. And I found that very sad. For you collaborate, it's a win-win for all parties. We made a huge donation of land, and there's got to be a journalist out there to say, "Oh, no, they did something colluded. It's not right that it took this."
I think the article was more. It was. There must have been, it was insinuating there was political intervention. That's what it was insinuating. It was hard. It hit hard. I didn't like that article. On the human level, it was like, guys, seriously? Our partners and our team, we worked really hard to break this deal and to do something that, to my knowledge, no developer had done before. in terms of donation for this species of animal. And it was done. Why it was successful in such a short term, and this is why I wish a journalist would have just said, "Hey, can I have an interview and ask you?" The reason why it was done in such a short amount of time is because everybody involved was in good faith. We set down our objectives. We are a developer. Our objective was to make sure that we were able to build our facility for our client on time and on budget. But our objective as well was to help everything we can for the environment. And the Ministry of Environment, on their side, their objective is to ensure that the environmental heritage for next generations is there. As soon as you put your cards on the table and you negotiate in good faith, which is what we did, solutions appear.
Absolutely.
And that's what happened. And that's what and what we did during that whole negotiation. My word was to not involve the politicians. Mm-hmm. That was my word to the people I was working with. I say, I will not reach out to the politicians, because we were going to show that it is possible in Quebec to develop and at the same time protect the environment. And that's what we did.
You know, we spoke about the ministry, and then we spoke about endangered species. Let's talk about community for a second. How do we align community concerns with investor expectations or our own expectations for development? And I think of, maybe we can talk about a project we did in the West Island of Montreal in a city called Kirkland, where we had, I think it was 47 residents that were directly behind an industrial development. When I say directly, it was a stone's throw away.
Yeah,
that was that was interesting, because I remember the first couple of meetings with the city, and our presentation had absolutely nothing to do about the type of buildings we're going to build or who we are. It was about how we were going to take to heart those 47 residents, what we're going to do about them to protect them during the process of construction.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, that's what set us apart from our competitors.
Yeah, I for sure. I mean, if you think of a town, what's their responsibility? So their number one responsibility is to take care of their residents. That's number one. Take care of them in the present and in the future. Ensure that the town will be sustainable, will grow. But at the heart of things, they have to take care of their residents. So when we do a project, or either it's in Kirkland or another project, especially when there's another residential area nearby, if we have the same reflex as a town, how are we going to protect those residents, or how are we going to ensure that our project doesn't hinder their quality of life? Yeah. You're speaking the language of the town.
Exactly.
And I think that was the solution that was done there. What can we do? We'll put a green buffer. We'll put a sound barrier between the buildings. All sorts of things that ensure that the quality of life of the residents is preserved.
If I were to ask you a question, what's the biggest myth about industrial real estate?
Biggest myth.
Well, you think, I have one for you.
What is it?
For me, it's always been how people thought industrial had to be just kind of a tin box, just a big, high ceiling warehouse. Yeah. We spent a lot of time choosing the right architects to make industrial sexy. Industrial can be sexy. It doesn't have to be the ugly duckling of real estate. Industrial is cool. Industrial is sexy. You can come into a beautiful office space with a warehouse, but it doesn't have to just be a tin box.
Yeah. Did you see the plans of our last project?
Spectacular. It looks, Taj Mahal. It looks like a beautiful, a project an industrial building you would put in a downtown core. That's how sleek that project's going to be.
Like we really pushed that architects. Hey, do something really different. Yeah. He really pushed us. And that's going to be quite different.
It will, but I think for me that's what it was. It was, let's take that myth of being just kind of a place to warehouse pallets to something cool. Yeah. Something people can walk by. Kids can walk by and goes, wow, that's a sexy building.
Yeah, it's a good point you're bringing. Like, it was always seen as a big monolithic block, steel panels. And it was also, for a long time, seen as cheap buildings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like almost hangars.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe a myth that has changed drastically with the sophistication of the industrial buildings. Where the way that the companies are doing their racking, we talked about it, the technology in the facilities. A lot of companies now are doing their offices, regional offices in the warehouse.
That's
with
right.
Traditionally, it was separate buildings, and we're also seeing. We talked about it earlier. We talked about mixed use industrial industrial retail side by side, but we're actually starting to see mixed use within the building, industrial warehousing, and retail.
Yep.
We have a client that did that, a furniture store.
Mm-hmm.
They got their showroom in the front, regional office, and the warehouse in the back, all in one facility, and it looks
spectacular.
Great. Industrial real estate is changing. It started changing about 10 years ago. It's continuously evolving, and it's getting more beautiful, more versatile as the economy changes as well. So it's a great time to be in industrial real estate.
You know, and it's going to keep growing, like you said. We're all living it today. We're all shopping much more online than we did in the past. These packages that we're receiving do not come from a store. They come from a warehouse. And, in order to get that delivery within 24 hours, well, these warehouses got to get a lot closer to these different communities. So we're going to see these industrial buildings, suburban industrial buildings popping up in different areas, and the larger distribution centers in the outskirts. But it's evolving. It's beautiful what's happening. We like to think that we disrupted the industrial sector of real estate.
Did you see the companies are starting to deliver with drones?
Yeah, it absolutely
I saw that in China.
Yeah.
I saw a video.
I'm sure it's going to be a requirement that we're going to have soon, where it's not only shipping doors and drive-in doors for trucks, it's going to be special gated pads where the drones will be able to kind of fly in, pick up the package, and fly out.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
The drone technology is insane right now.
I think everything is evolving. And now look at AI. You look at how AI is evolving the way we do things. We can analyze a site within minutes now.
Yeah.
From the time we look at a property, we have these AI programs that we use now to implement a site plan.
Yeah.
Which would take us in the past maybe a week or two
scary.
With an architect. Today, instantaneously, we add the info into our system.
100 sketches in
minutes.
10 seconds.
We can tell a vendor go, no go instantaneously.
It's nuts. AI is crazy.
Talking about AI, talking about technology, talking about just kind of bettering everything we do. If I were to leave on one last question, completely off topic, it's just coming to me because I know we both do a lot of this, and it's reading and bettering ourselves. What would you say is like one book every developer or somebody who wants to be a developer, would you suggest that they should read?
One book. Oh my God.
And it doesn't have to be real estate. It could be just to better what you do, to better your outlook on things.
I'm gonna try to get the title right. Great CEOs Are Lazy. I believe that's one by Jim Schlexer.
And that has to do about surrounding yourself.
It's just about when you own a company, when you're in a company, to ensure to have a winning team, to ensure that everybody's in the right seat, to ensure that all visions, objectives are aligned within the team. It's just a great book to read, no matter if you're in industrial real estate, any type of real estate, any type of business. I just hope I got the title right.
Yeah.
But I think it's Great CEOs Are Lazy. Jim Schlexer, I believe, is the author.
You did get the title right, and it is a great read, and I think it's something we implement internally. We always say if we're the smartest people in the room, we got a problem, and we have an incredible team, such knowledgeable people who are so passionate about what they do, and we love presenting a site, day one to a team and say, guys, look at this canvas, look at this sandbox we get to play in.
Yeah.
What do you think we should do? And then you just see everybody's hamsters running from construction to design to the contractors. Oh, what about this type of project? What about this? That size building. It's one of my favorite aspects of the whole deal cycle. Is just kind of being that, using our creative sides to create something amazing.
What's your book?
There's I love just reading biographies of different people.
Yeah, those are great.
I loved Steve Jobs' book because the quote that he said, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking back.
Yeah.
And it's so true because it resonates with me. And it's sometimes you go through a tough time in life, you're like, oh, why is this happening to me? I've been doing so good in different things. Why did this happen? Or why did that situation happen? Or why is this investor not coming on the project?
Yeah.
And then you fast forward and you look back and you're like, oh, if that situation didn't happen, we wouldn't have met this investor. Look at us today.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of a situation where, we had put together a partnership group, and at the 11th hour, I think it was a day or two before we had to waive on all conditions and move forward on the site, the partner that we had said, I'm out.
How many days before?
It was 48 hours beforehand. And we said, what do you mean you're out? He goes, yeah, you know what? I'm just not sure. I'm not sure about it. I don't think industrial is my thing. I love the returns and what you're presenting. No, I'm just gonna leave my money in the bank. And so we said, okay. Hung up the call. It was a Zoom call when he did that. He didn't want to do it in person. And we sat there. I remember Sam and I were looking at each other. And we says, what are we gonna do? This was at the onset of Rosefellow, and we said this could bankrupt our company because we put all this money to secure the site, and lo and behold, we were talking to the other partner we had in the project, and he said, "What's wrong? You guys don't look yourselves. You're pale as a ghost," because he was the next call right after.
No kidding.
And we explained to him the situation, and it worked out because he came in. He says, "You know what? I'm okay with the percentage I have in the project. I think he had 25 or 25%. He goes, I will cover the part that he wasn't covering. Give you guys enough time. What do you guys need? 90 days, 120 days to make it happen." The institution that came in and took his place ended up being a partner of ours for the next 12 projects thereafter. Yeah. So if that situation didn't happen, if we didn't get burnt at the last minute, we would have never met this institution who came in, and we've done incredible projects together. So I like that book because it made me realize that, because true. When Steve Jobs he got fired from Apple, and look what happened to him then. He said he met his wife, and then he became one of the greatest leaders ever. So it's that's one that I really appreciate, because it made me resonate. It made me think of a lot of things that happened.
It's such a good story. It's so true. There's so many things that happen in your life, and then you look back, you're like, thank God that happened.
People ask us, because people they ask me, and I'm sure they ask you too. If you had to choose, in my case, if you could have opened Rosefellow 15 years ago, would you do so? I says, well, no, the outcome would not have been the same.
Yeah.
Everything that happened in my life, the places where I worked, the people I met, were basically the result of where we are today.
Yeah, somebody asked me that recently. He's like, do you regret you didn't? Because I was in the consulting world, representing developers for 15 years, and he goes, do you regret you didn't start doing development? Maybe you'd be much wealthier, or maybe you would have much more success. I'm like, no, those years made me successful today. What I learned over those years, it's such a great, I love those biographies, by the way. Mm-hmm. I love reading those, but there's so many amazing people that you can learn from in the world. It's unbelievable.
And it's funny, you mentioned about people you met when you were a consultant, and I was an employee working for a developer. That's how I met you.
Correct.
And then you fast forward 10 years, our paths crossed again, and here we are today.
It's amazing. Life is just incredible. Nuts.
Absolutely. With that said, we just want to thank everyone for listening to another Rosefellow podcast. Thanks, Kris.
Thank you.
It's always I love brainstorming with you and just talking about all the fun stuff of real estate.
Yeah. I hope our audience enjoys it too.
Hopefully so. And keep listening. Don't forget to like and follow us on all platforms. Thank you.